Hey, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Rage, and we are back today to go through the top 10 teams right now in Marvel Strike Force that ultimately will unlock, I would say 80 to 85% of the content and take you to the end game in terms of what's happening right now. Now, remember, with how fast and dynamic the meta changes in this game, a couple of these teams could very well be out of date by the time you watch this video in a couple months. So I typically try to do this at least once every month or once every 2 months. That way you're hopefully up to date. But as well, remember, with new teams getting introduced every month, that's why we try to stay on top of it, especially given the changing meta and whatnot. Now, having said that, remember, guys, I try to focus all my resources and materials and investment into teams that's going to give me the most value from a free-to-play player perspective. So having said that, without question, the most rewards from a value perspective that you generate is typically from the raids that happen every single day from alliance activity, and as well what you're doing in arena. For me, war and cosmic crucible has always been secondary priorities in terms of just what they bring to the table, because at the end of the day, we're trying to accumulate and build our rosters as powerful as we can. So the PvP aspect of the game isn't exactly the most rewarding in terms of what you can actually generate, but it is, definitely at times could be a lot more fun than the PvE side. So, pardon my focus there, but it is kind of how, the best manage the resources that we have. And that's how you can actually grow your roster as fast as you can. So you can get to the end game stuff like Alliance War, Crucible, and even Battle World. That's kind of in an interesting place right now in the game. But the 10 teams I'm going to show you here is going to get you the majority of the PvE content. It's going to allow you to start on the Dark Dimensions and get into a pretty good rhythm. And having said that, it's also going to give you a good foundation for the other PvP aspects of the game, as I noted, War and Crucible. So let's get started. So without question, the obvious ones are the raid teams, right? And remember, the raid teams change so quickly that in a month or two, some of these ones will probably get booted out, and I'll point that out as well as we're going through it. But I like to start with raids because we're doing this every single day, and it generates the most rewards from a time perspective, especially since once you build up some of these teams, you can actually sim. And as well, some of these teams that I'm listing for you is also going to allow us to unlock some of the most powerful legendary characters in the game, get you started on Dark Dimension, which can also provide some of the most powerful mythic characters in the game. So the way I have this structure right now is we're going to go through the raid teams, and then we'll talk about the supplementary teams as part of the events. And again, if you're focusing on these 10 teams, they're going to unlock you the majority of the content in the game and get you to a strong foundational point where you can pivot with your resources. You can invest in other teams, other new characters that are getting added into the game. So without question, when you're going through the Chaotic Storm raids or Doom raids or Incursion or Spotlight, there's going to be a couple requirements that you have to work through, and Orcus Tech Team right now is the only option that we have, right? So make sure you focus and build them. Thankfully, they're farmable. The Orcus team is dynamic. They can be used in Dark Dimension. Definitely one of the better teams in the game, and as well, they can also provide value in PvP aspect. This is a data team right here, Hive Mind. And the best version of Hive Mind actually includes Super Scroll being a character that's also unlocked from Dark Dimension. Now, the reason I wanted to bring this up and obviously flag for your attention, especially if you're watching it in a month or two from now, is that the new Thunderbolts team is coming next week. So this team is on the way out. It's phased out. So if you're watching this, do not build Hive Mind. Really, the option here now is going to be Thunderbolts. Now, thankfully, Ghost as well as Taskmaster being part of this new team, they're going to be versatile. But just when you're watching this, make sure you're not building up Hive Mind anymore unless they've already been invested in. You're essentially just using them to do the daily raids. Otherwise, the go-to team now should be the focus on Thunderbolts as they slowly get phased into the game here in the coming weeks and months, and obviously their farmability. But otherwise, if you're going to bring them up, this is how I've invested them, and thankfully I didn't have to over-invest, right? Then, without question, one of the newest teams in the game and being utilized for the skill section is the Vigilantes. Superb, phenomenal value right now. They're used for Age of X. They can be likely used for Dark Dimensions. Make sure you build them up. They're going to give you a lot of value, and they're really good in all game modes. So just a synergy, an absolute juggernaut right now. I'm really glad that I've invested in them, especially for the limited time events that we did have with the Fallen Dimensions. Massive. Night Stalkers, one of the newer raid teams as well, so they're going to have some value here. They're utilized for the Mystic section of raids. And as you can see, respectively, you know, I actually haven't built up all the members, as you can see, evidently, because there's still some mystic characters that can slot in. But if you're watching this, my personal recommendation: build up Night Stalkers, unless you have some of those big mystic characters already, like Mephisto and Odin, where you may not need all of them. That's why I don't have all my characters fully built, but Blade and Oath are the two most important members of this team. And as well, I'm planning to bring them up into Age of X, future Dark Dimensions as well, just because of the synergy that they have. The only option that we have really right now for the mutant section of raids is the Extreme X-Men team, but the best version of this team is actually Old Man Logan, slotted in place here as the 5th member of the team, with Gambit, Nightcrawler, Forge, and Sunspot. So naturally, this is the best version of this team, but if you don't have Old Man Logan, Cyclops is also fine. But they're also going to be the next team that gets likely replaced. So after the Bio Raid team, I would expect there to be a new mutant team. And from the data mines and some of the leaks that we've seen, it could be very possible that they are on the way out as well, following Bio. So just something to be mindful of there. So those are your 5 raid teams, guys. Now we're going to talk about some of the other teams that complement the things that you're doing in the game, as well as giving you a bit of value in the other game modes. Alpha Flight is unfortunately required for Spotlight raids, so I mean, you don't really have a choice. You have to build them up. But the good news is that you don't necessarily need to take all of them to the moon. This has gotten me through the highest difficulties for those Spotlight raids. So North Star easily being the most important member. I can definitely see this team getting replaced by another team, but so far they're still a really good war defense team right now for the meantime. There's a lot more counters now, but before, when they were originally released, they had a lot of value and being required for Spotlight 1 raids, so that's why they're there. So yeah, still required, but they can give you a bit of value, at least in the PvP aspects. But aside from that, outside of the Spotlight raids, not really used anywhere else. Maybe you can get them as a Crucible team just to counter a specific team dynamic. We have Out of Time here, and I want to caution you guys on the members here. Minimal investment on Out of Time, because the only reason why Out of Time and Cabal are here is actually for the fact that they assist in the unlock of Old Man Logan for his legendary trials. So they're going to get you there because they're getting you one of the most powerful characters in the game. If that changes in the future, I'll probably take this off the list, but for now, in the meantime, you got to build these 2 teams up. But as you can see, Black Knight is easily the most important character to focus on. As for Carter, America, you know, Starbrand, as well as Cosmic Ghost Rider, you can see I haven't put a lot of investment in them, because what I'm trying to drive home is that this team here doesn't necessarily need the maximum investment. You need them to essentially unlock Logan. Cabal, however, is still one of the best kind of 3-piece teams in the game. You can build them up freely all the way if you would like. They can be used in Dark Dimensions. They're versatile, value in Crucible and War. Just really fun team dynamic, to be honest. So I highly would recommend them. And then we have 2 other teams that are also required for the Shadow King Legendary event. So you can see here, the first one being the Illuminati. The best version of this team is actually with Captain Britain, so that's who I typically have slotted in instead of Iron Man. But obviously, if you don't have Captain Britain, this is the go-to choice right there. You need them for the Shadow King Trials, who is, again, one of the best legendary characters in the game. And then next to that as well, we also have the Annihilators team. Now, Annihilators is also required for Shadow King, but they have value in War. Even currently right now, I'm using Gore and as well as Gladiator being utilized for that. So just something to be mindful of there. We have a little bit of value in that synergy there being utilized, but they can also be potentially brought into Dark Dimension as well. So you're going to get some extra additional kind of usage there. And again, being part of for the Shadow King Trials, that's why they're there. And then lastly, this 11th bonus team is actually the Astral team. And I like putting an asterisk next to them because of the fact that, well, they're actually great in War. They're great in Crucible, and obviously they're the only Battle World bonus team right now that we have in the game. Having said that, the only member that I would highly recommend is Shadow King, but Emma Frost for this team has actually found a bit of value in Arena as well. So she's actually part of my Arena offense team in addition to Old Man Logan, as well as some of those Annihilator members. So that's why they're on this list. They're going to allow you to be able to crush that aspect of the game to generate more power cores, but they're kind of a bonus team because if you don't care about Battle World, you may not need that, and especially if you don't care about the Shadow King Legendary himself, but he is, guys, he is one of the best legendary characters in the game as well, next to Old Man Logan, so that's why I would recommend it. 11 teams here for your review, but as well, like I said, be on the lookout for some of the changing metas because, again, Thunderbolts join very shortly here, and then following that, we probably will have a team or 2 for War and Crucible, and then that's when I would expect that Mutant section will likely get replaced by another new team. So that's where Extreme X-Men just be, have a bit of caution of how high you want to build them, but likely there will still probably be a month or two of value there. And obviously we know, like I said, with Hive Mind, they are on the way out with Thunderbolts replacing. So hopefully this is helpful, guys. Hopefully this is a good snapshot overview of the 10 most powerful teams that can get you value right now in the game. That's going to build a strong foundation for you to get to the end game, as well as obviously be able to provide multiple ways to generate rewards in the game to maximize your progression, especially if you're free to play. Do let me know what you think in the comments below. Did I miss any teams? Are there any team suggestions that you recommend as well from your experience? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you for your time as always, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.